Ready, set, art. So, for advanced art, your first lesson will be on Florida animals. So some are native to there and some aren't, but they're definitely ones that you can find there, and we'll use that for a later main project. So the ones we'll focus on, I have this in part 1 and then part 2. Part 1 will focus on zebra longwing butterfly, the mockingbird. You might have heard the book To Kill a Mockingbird, that's the actual bird. And then the Florida panther. Did you know there are panthers in Florida? Part 2 will focus on the American flamingo, the iguana, which not really native, but it definitely took over. There's some funny videos online with them during the winter time. So an interesting shape to work with for what we're going to do. And then the alligator snapping turtle. I like this one because of the detailing in the shell. It's different than normal, and I love the shaping of the face. And what will this all go toward? Well, I have this assignment. It should remind you of a Friday challenge, so it only should take an hour to make. So you can see here, I have the alligator, and I didn't do that in the sketchbook because we've done that before, but you can look up an alligator from Florida, and then you can sketch from there. So any animals from Florida are fine. I'm just focusing on 6 for the sketchbook. For this main project, which I'll get to at a later time, some of the more details of it, but you can see we're using 3 to 4 bright colors. We're dashing them in, and we're using the glazing technique. Glazing means you put one color down, you let it dry, and then you put the next color down, right? And then we do this kind of black outlining, but it's not all the way. You can see it's dashed in some areas, and some areas it's thin, and some areas it's thick. So we're kind of being abstract expressionistic about it. All right, so that's another time. Let's focus on these 3. I'm going to start with the zebra longwing butterfly. Here's my paper ready to go. If you prefer to draw like this, that's fine. It's your sketchbook. So I like to use pencil angles to figure everything out. So here's my angle of this butterfly. I'll compare it to the drawing. Here's the angle of the body, and then I'll compare it to my drawing. So those type of angles really help to figure this out. Now what's interesting is the title, the name of it, zebra longwing. I mean, that is really accurate. I've drawn this butterfly 3 times now because I kept getting the length of the wings wrong. So they really do have longer wings than normal. Look how long that is. That is long. And then after I get that in, I'm going to angle the other parts in. Look how high that comes up. It's not all the way down here. A lot of times when people draw butterflies, they draw it like this, right? Look how far that goes down. That's not actually how their wings do that. I should use my bigger eraser. Okay, a little faster. And then bring in the other one, those lower wings. Okay, and it looks like I'm ready to go shaping wise. I want to start with the body. So when you look at the head, and I'm drawing darker than normal just so you can see, but normally I like to sketch very light so I can make my corrections a little easier. So for instance, that head is too light. But again, demonstration purposes, I like to make them a little darker. I'm used to using a whiteboard, and those markers are much darker, right? And then we'll go in with the antennas. Right? And it's not a dot at the end, it's almost like a teardrop. Okay, if it goes off the page, it goes off the page. Like this one is going off the page a little bit, and that's fine. It's better to let it go off the page than have an incorrect proportion, right? Okay, then the middle part of the body. Science-wise, you can look that up, what that is, the technical name. And then here's this lower part of the body, right? It's kind of 3 parts, 1, 2, 3. And then it has this interesting kind of shaping right here. As a detail, it looks like little half moons, but I kind of go back and reshape it. It's almost bubbled a little bit. Okay, so that's a better shaping. From there, I can start creating the wing. So I already have the length in, and I have the angle in, and now I can kind of reshape it. It's not really straight across, it kind of rounds out. Sorry. And then rounds again. Has this organic shape. Remember, organic means natural, not geometric. So it shouldn't look too geometric. Kind of off-shaped, or irregular shape might be more of an accurate description. I try to match as best as I can to the other sides. Should be like a mirror image on each side, but we're sketching and I just want you to get the basic idea down that you would use later in a main drawing. So this, you could tell it's almost too far right there, but that's okay. I'll bring it in. All right, next, I want to go ahead and put those little, I guess they're veins, keep those wings hydrated, okay? So whatever shape you create on this side, you need to create the same on that side. I will go ahead and erase my axis line. All right, and there's this little vein that goes like this. And then there's this one in the middle that kind of Y's out, like the letter Y, I mean. Okay, and then another one. Doesn't that look familiar to how a butterfly wing would be? Let's try the other side. I want to erase my little axis line. Then put this line in. I'm going to go mid, just like I did on the other side, curve it up, just like I did this side. Why? Because it Y's up. And then it kind of wiggles its way this way. And then another wiggle. If it's not exactly the same, most people probably wouldn't notice. We're going to shade it anyway, but you have the basic idea down. Let's do the bottom one. Another little Y, kind of Y's out, right? And another one. A little Y, and another one. Okay, so this is called the zebra butterfly, right? Zebra long wing. So we have the long wing part, we got to create the zebra. When you look this butterfly up, it has a very light yellow striping. It's black with a light yellow striping. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one. It has this weird, I don't know, like a boomerang shape. So I'll put that in, and it overlaps my little veins. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and create the other shapes. Remember, whatever shape we pretty much make, you want to create on the other side as best you can. This one has another big striping down here, and then there's one extra detail. Right now it looks like all stripes, right? This is why we shade it in later. And then it has all these little circles, little light yellow circles for later. Okay, so I put that in. Now I want to add some detailing here, here, and a few little details there. That is your long wing butterfly. When you go to clean it up, it's probably going to look like something like this. And remember, this document you could find in Canvas. All right, next, the mockingbird. So let's look at this one. So I tried to change I wanted the position to be a little different to deal with the head. It's all, in art, there's a lot to deal with movement, right? So here's the axis line, it's like this, and then you put another line in for the head, okay? So it's almost like a sideways check mark, and that's what I will do. So I'm going to keep my paper to the side. Just know that I am doing my axis lines. Okay. If you draw and it accidentally overlaps your other sketches, that's perfectly fine. Sketchbooks are sketchbooks for a reason. Okay, so now I can go in and I'm going to create kind of this really wide looking teardrop. If I have to reshape it later, I can if it's too wide, but for right now that looks fine. And then I'm going to go ahead and create this shape for the head. Maybe I'll draw a little darker so you can see. All right, so that's that part. And then let's go in with the beak. The beak is really small. I noticed when I was drawing, I kept drawing it way too long. So just kind of be aware of that. It has this interesting shape right here. It's almost like a little Cro-Magnon-like, where it has this little curve going in, and that curve follows the beak. Creates this kind of darkened area that leads to the eye. Often in birds, the beak line here leads to the eye. That's pretty common. Shading. I left a little white space there for a highlight. So when you do highlights, you just avoid one area. That's all you do. Okay, I'm going to bring this out a little bit. And now we're ready for our wing. Our wing doesn't really go past our axis line that we made, so I'm just going to kind of try to keep it within that area. And as you know, wings have sections to it. It has this shorter feather area, a medium, and then length, right? So I have these shorter ones here, and then I'm creating a section here and a section here. If you look, my tail is going to go off page because I drew it very big. On my example, I didn't do that as much. But again, if it goes off the page, it goes off the page. As long as you're getting the basic idea of what we're doing here, then you're fine. Okay, so normally I draw that tail. Here it is. So if I were to draw the tail, it has kind of a flattened section here, and then another shape going here, and it kind of widens out a little bit, much longer feathers. Okay, so now for the hind leg. So it kind of goes like this. It reminds me of pigeons. It's kind of really wide right there. All right, and then we're going to bring down the leg. I'm going to angle just to make sure. They have short legs, and then it has this. I love how the talons are, how they come off right here. There's a little bump, curves, and then comes up. Should again remind you of pigeons. This middle one is a little longer, and then shorter talons. Okay, see, it's starting to look like a foot, and it seems kind of long, but you know, again, every bird is different. Some shorter, some longer. Okay, this leg, even though you think the length right here is accurate, when you go to do this one, the hind leg on the other side, this part here is actually higher because it's like walking. So it's going to appear short, but that's because it's foreshortened. Foreshortened, right? Okay, I could keep detailing, but this is what it's going to look like. I add these little details in here because it's color variations. It goes white, then gray, then back to white, and then there's darker colors within. I add a few extra little lines here just to indicate some feathering. Now we're ready for, the Florida Panther. I want you to take note that this is a very long body for an animal. Normally we draw them shorter, but in this case it's long. I've redrawn, I think, this maybe 3 or 4 times because I kept getting the length incorrect. So you really need the bottom part of this page to fit in the body and your tail. So if there's not enough room, which right now I drew this so big there's not enough room, I'm going to go on to another page. Okay, so I'm going to keep this up here so I can see. All right, so I'm going to start with my axis line. So from shoulder to rear, it's a little angled. From shoulder to head, and I'm going to bring it down so I can figure out the chest area. Now from there, I'm going to go ahead and put in the hindquarters, the shoulder blade, and note that I kept the shoulder blade higher because when he's walking, it gets to this position, it pushes that shoulder blade up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And then the length right now looks fine, but if it doesn't, go back and correct it. I had to redraw it so many times because I kept doing that incorrectly. All right, angles of legs. Whoops, make sure it's just right. The other thing I kept doing incorrectly was the length of the legs. I kept making them too long. Okay. So again, this part might seem off compared to here, but no, because it's going back, it's pushing that side up, so it's a little foreshortened. Okay, and here's that. I'm going to go ahead and put the tail in. This case, I drew it a little bigger than the top, so the tail looks like it's actually going to go off the page. And that's okay. All right, other leg. Other leg is like right here, and it looks like I might have length wrong here, so I'm just going to change that. And then the front leg. I like when it looks like it's walking. And then the head is about right here. I noticed that the Florida Panther has a longer neck than most cats. Even so, that's actually too long, so I'm going to bring it down. All right. So now I can start doing my shaping. I'm going to start with the torso, just kind of reshaping that rear, going into the tail. In this case, it's going off the page. That's okay. Now the hind legs. Kind of goes almost straight right there. And back into the leg. The paw. Your paws are really big. Okay. And then I want to go ahead and do this part of the leg. And it's pushing up right there, the heel. And then I put that paw in. Now I'm ready for the front legs. Here's part of the shoulder blade, right? part of the heel, part of the paw. Bring it up. Now I'm ready for this front part of the leg moving. It gets into here and then the paw. Okay. We have the basic shape of that. I left the head for last. Cats can be a little challenging because their front of their face is short. So I'm going to start with that shape, but I may have to correct as I go. Nice big rounded ears. It's round right here. Be careful making it too pointy. I did that mistake as well. And as you know, I have to erase as I go, because if you're making mistakes, you just go back and correct. It's all about correcting mistakes. We're getting there. Okay, I'm going to put in an angled line for my eye placement. Same with the nose. Okay, you can kind of see from there, it makes it easier to figure out eyes. So it has, coloration wise, it's dark here and dark here from its fur. So that's why I'm adding that feature in. And then I'm just having it look up. I'll fix this in a moment. It's nice rounded nostril. Goes in, has that middle part come down. And then its mouth. And I love this part of the face, right? It kind of reminds you of how a fox or a cat would be with this shaping from the fur. Okay, so I can keep going, but detail-wise, I add these little lines in because it's actually white in the front. And then right in here, I put this little tip right here. And then I just kind of cleaned up my line work. I did add a few little whiskers to finish. All right, that's part one of Florida animals. Next will be, if I can find it, here it is. Part two, iguana, American flamingo, and alligator snapping turtle. Thank you.